How's it going? Well, we're gonna see if we can turn this fucking big old white pine we chopped down a couple years ago into a fucking table. So I'm gonna try to knock down this birch here at the beginning. I'm gonna cut this cunt about probably 8 feet down. Hopefully it doesn't fall on me. She rolls down this embankment into where I park my boat for the winter. And we're gonna drag her into the opening. We're gonna mill her up with the chainsaw so she can fit on the sawmill, and from there we'll cut her into slabs and cubes. Let's see what happens. Success. Let's drag the motherfucker out with the truck now. Sawmill is only good for about 22 by 22 inches, so this thing's a little bigger than that, so I'm gonna mill her down a little bit. This way we can fit her in the sawmill, and then we can cut her into our slabs and our posts for the legs on the table. One more. Hopefully one more and she'll fucking fit. Alright, one more cut and hopefully we can get this thing up to the sawmill so we can get her all true and level. Then cut our slabs from there. So. That's okay. How about the ripper? Alright, now we can fit her in the sawmill. Alright, I got that prick cut up on that chainsaw sawmill. Chain was dull as shit, so I got a bunch of waves and it's not very straight. So I'm going to square it all off, all four sides on the sawmill here. And then from there I can work on my slabs and my 4x4s that I'm going to be using for my legs. So let's hopefully this thing turns out. This thing was a bitch to get on here, so I'm sure it's going to be a fucking even bigger bitch to rotate to be able to get all four sides. There, got all four sides cut, all leveled off. Now I'm gonna twist her over, look for my best sides, and I'm gonna work on cutting my slabs for my tabletop and then whatever's left over I'll cut into my 3x3 for my cross legs. We'll see how it works out, hopefully. All right, got my better side picked. I'm gonna cut 4 slabs at 1.25 inches for my tabletop, and then I'm gonna cut another 3 slabs. I need to run it through the skill saw to slim down a little bit, and that's gonna be my bracing going around the edge of the table. So my tabletop should be in true looking about 2.25 inches. This way it has a little more stability, doesn't bow as much on me or wedge as much or flex, I guess, whatever, twist, whatever the fuck you want to call it, when she goes to dry out. And then this way when I go to put my epoxy on, everything's not all over the place. So we'll cut my 4 slabs for my tabletop, and then I'll cut 3 at about 1 inch for my bracing, and then I'll work on my legs. I got my tabletop, got all my braces, and I've got my legs cut. Now it's just a matter of drying them out for a couple days and then piece everything together, give her a quick sand, and hopefully pour some epoxy, and she's fucking okay. There we go. Got all my pieces cut, stacked. They're all spaces in between everything. Hopefully they can dry out a little more in the next couple days, and then I can start screwing everything together, cut them to size, and hopefully we can build ourselves a fucking table for my cabin. Nice, new, fresh, big ass white pine from my lot fucking table. So hopefully these bitch dry out good and I can get her going. Well, been a couple days, my wood's been drying. It should be good enough to work with now, I'm hoping. So I'm gonna cut everything down to size. We got some nice white pine here. All my slabs and everything I got in the back of my truck. I'm gonna cut all these suckers down to the size that I need. Hopefully I'll get my tabletop built today and I can get it sanded, and I'm gonna go into town tomorrow, pick up some epoxy, and the following day get everything epoxied up and stained, and hopefully we'll see how it looks. So this is the grain. I got some rot on the edges that I'm gonna cut off, get everything to size. So, but I think we got some good to work with here. So let's get it chopping and see what'll happen. So, all right. There, got all my pieces cut down to size. Now I'm gonna cut my frame edging that I need for around the bottom of my table to help hold everything together, and then I'll screw it all together and hopefully we can sand it and give it a... All right, so I got my tabletop all screwed together here, braced from the bottom. She should be pretty solid. Got ourselves some heavy sucker. I got ourselves some decent grain to work with. I'm gonna put some mud fill on her, bring her over to the sawhorses, and sand her all down, and then we should be able to stain her and hopefully pour our epoxy. So I think she's gonna turn out pretty good. See how it goes. All right, so far it's coming along pretty good. I've got everything all mud filled here, all my cracks and my seams where my epoxy could be seeping into. So I'm gonna let her rest for a bit, and then I'm gonna give her a good little sanding, and we should be able to get a stain on her hopefully today, and in 2 days I'm gonna throw my epoxy on her. So yeah, so far coming along good. All right, we got her all sanded here, ready to apply our stain. I don't know if you can see that grain, but grain's really starting to come out a lot more as I get her sanded. Started with the 50, went to the 120, now I got the 220 on there. Should be good enough, just a cottage anyways. So I'm gonna stick my stain on her, just going with a classic gray. Hopefully it'll be a gray, a little bit of brown will come through too. And hopefully go get my ass in there, lake, wash off, go for a swim. And while this thing dries before I can get her inside. All right, got her all painted, stained up, wiped off. I'm really liking the way that this stain is looking. She did an awesome job picking out the color. Pretty excited to see how it's gonna look once I get the epoxy and everything on it, get my legs built, and I get her up into the cabin. So I'm gonna go myself for a dip here, cool off a little bit, then I'm getting to get this in the cabin for the rest of the evening so she stays nice and dry, and then pick myself up some epoxy tomorrow. We're gonna pour some epoxy and then I'll build some legs. All right, so I got my table all leveled, cleaned off, the surface area is clean. Usually I use Enviro Epoxy, I believe it's called. I've only done this once before, so this is my second time trying it. They have this knockoff shit that's called Envirotex. We'll see how it works. I'm gonna mix my resin and my epoxy 50-50 together, stir it for 2 minutes, then I'm gonna pour it on, let it run, level itself off. I'm gonna start off with dabbing most of the holes first, and then after a couple minutes, when the air bubbles start to come through, then all I'm gonna do is just hit her with the torch, get all the bubbles and everything out. Then we'll let her sit for a couple days and should be able to haul her up to the cabin. By then I should have my legs built. So let's see how she goes. Well, got my epoxy poured now, just letting her rest. I probably should have used a little bit more epoxy than I did, just to give it more of a flood, fill in the gaps a little more. But it turned out pretty good. No, I'm pretty impressed for how it's looking, for what it's going to be in my camp. Anyways, just a camp. So yeah, this is what she looks like. We're gonna let her finish drying. I'm gonna work on building some legs today, and for the next probably 20 minutes or so until it tacks up a little more, I'm just gonna walk around the edges and get all the drips off of it. So yeah, so far coming along good. All right, well, I'm waiting for my epoxy to dry. I'm gonna start working on my legs. I'm gonna build a jig first of all that I can use for the size of what I'm gonna be using for my legs for my X's. I can use that as a frame to base it off of what I need to cut everything to. And then I'll cut my braces for it. I'll sand everything off. I'm gonna stain her. And then I got this Varathane spray. Usually it comes where you gotta put it on with a brush, and it comes in a can. So I'm gonna try this stuff out, see how it looks, just to give her a little bit of gloss should we need to clean the legs or something like that. So yeah, so hopefully these legs turn out as good as the tabletop did, then we can get her all put together and see what it looks like inside the cabin. All right, got all my legs sanded, built, put together. I got my holes screwed in the middle here so I can run a ready rod going from one leg to the other to help stabilize in between. I'm gonna put a bolt on each side of the leg. So all I gotta do is stain them up, and I bought some of this spray Varathane. I've never heard of Varathane in a spray can before, so I'm gonna try it out, see how it works for the legs. This way it's not as glossy as the tabletop, has a little bit more dull to it, but still gives that shine, a little easier to clean. So I'm gonna go ahead and stain these suckers and see what happens when they dry and I spray that Varathane on. Well, got the legs built, I got them stained, I got them Varathaned. I gave some time for my tabletop to harden and dry, brought her up to the camp, put her all together. This is the finished product. This is what we got. She turned out pretty good, I might say. Got ourselves a brand new white pine custom built table, picked right here from the lot. This is what she turned out. I ended up using a chunk of 3/4 inch ready rod for the middle as a stabilizer. I don't know, I figure I'd add a little more character with the gray and the browns. Have that little bolt effect. Give her a little more man to it, you know? So this is what we got. Turned out pretty good. Looks good too with the cabinets, the wall, countertop, and the couches. Still got a few more pictures to hang up. Now I may have to build myself some benches or some chairs for it, or find some and restain them. Not really sure what I'm gonna do yet. In the meantime, we're just gonna use our old patio furniture chairs. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to build myself a coffee table to match right over there. Sometimes the list just never ends.